Bolivia's former president Evo Morales arrives to his homeland from exile. Azerbaijan acknowledges that it accidentally shot down a Russian helicopter and apologizes for what happened. European governments implement new preventative measures to tackle a second COVID-19 wave. Hello, welcome to From the South. My name is Gladys Marlenis Quesada Cruz from the TeleSUR headquarters in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Stay with us. This Monday morning, November 9, former Bolivian President Evo Morales passed through the borders region of La Quiaca in Argentina and Villazón in Bolivia, where he was received by hundreds of people on his return to the Andean country after almost a year of asylum in Argentina as a result of the coup d'etat staged by sectors of the Bolivian right wing with the support of the OAS in November 2019. The former Bolivian leader was fired on Monday morning by Argentine President Alberto Fernández. During a brief ceremony held on the Argentinian side of the international crossing in La Quiaca, Morales addressed a multitude that gathered there. In his speech, Morales thanked the Argentine people, President Alberto Fernández and the Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador for their support after the coup d'etat.
I did not doubt that we would return, but we were not sure that it would be so soon. Something historic, something unprecedented. Thanks to the unity of the Bolivian people and the support of many authorities in the world, sisters and brothers, the history of the permanent struggle for life, for humanity, for peace, and for democracy is repeated again. And for that reason, I am surprised by the assistance of the Argentine people, and especially of our brother, President Alberto Fernández. Thank you very much, Brother Alberto.
On Monday, the President of Argentina, Alberto Fernández, expressed his satisfaction and joy that former President Evo Morales is finally able to return to his homeland.
How nice to be here. Today is a really beautiful day. It is a very important day for all of us. It is very special to be here in La Quiaca, in this place, the limit of Argentina, to have been able to know and receive the love and affection of each and every one of you. And it's very important. Thanks, you don't know how much I love you all. And it is very important to be here in La Quiaca for this reason. The reason is to guarantee that our dear colleague and brother Evo Morales returns to his homeland from which he should never have left and should never have been mistreated as he was. For the last 4 years, Latin America has been disintegrating into individualities. Like Evo says, we are part of a great homeland, a homeland that wants to grow, a homeland that wants justice, a homeland that wants development, not for some, but for all, a homeland that wants to embrace everyone, not some. A homeland that wants each and every Latin American to be part of this wonderful continent. We don't want countries for some, we want countries for all. We want every nation to be able to grow and develop. And to achieve this objective, there is an instrument that we must never forget. It is the most important instrument that we have, and it is called democracy.
And the President of Mexico, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, congratulated the Bolivian people on their civic action in the presidential elections, while saluting as well the recent-elect President Luis Arce Catacora.
Da mucho gusto.
I'm very pleased that the people of Bolivia have made the decision to maintain the same course in order to continue moving forward with democracy, equality, justice, and sovereignty. A warm hug from Mexico to all the people of Bolivia, and congratulations, Luis.
And the U.S. President-elect Joe Biden unveiled Monday members of his COVID-19 advisory board, and it includes Rick Bright, a former member of the COVID-19 task force of the Trump administration, who resigned amid allegations that his early warnings over the pandemic were ignored. The task force, a group of public health experts, almost all doctors, will offer guidance to Biden, Vice President-elect Kamala Harris, and their coronavirus staff as they prepare to take over the presidency. The board's composition could be an indicator of the Biden administration's intent to follow a more science-based coronavirus approach. Russian President Vladimir Putin won't congratulate Joe Biden on winning the U.S. presidential election until the results are official, the Kremlin said on Monday, citing the possibility of court challenges. Unlike many other world leaders, Putin has remained silent since the U.S. media called the election in the Democratic candidate's favor and said Biden had achieved the necessary 270 electoral college votes to clinch victory over the incumbent President Donald Trump. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov told reporters that the Russian government considers more appropriate to wait for the official results. According to Putin's spokesperson, the circumstances are more complicated this time around. On Saturday, Biden was congratulated by UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, French President Emmanuel Macron, and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, among others. And China declined to congratulate Joe Biden as the winner of the U.S. presidential election, saying the outcome of the vote was still to be determined. China only said that it had noticed that Mr. Biden declared he is the winner of the election.
We have noticed that Mr. Joe Biden declared he is the winner of the election. Our understanding is that the outcome of the election will be determined in accordance with U.S. laws and procedures. China's position on the relevant issues has been consistent and clear. Our resolve to protect the country's sovereignty, security and development benefits will not waver. We have always advocated that China and the U.S. should control existing differences on the basis of mutual respect and mutual non-interference in internal affairs, and promote the healthy and stable development of China-U.S. relations. We hope the new U.S. government can meet China halfway.
And Iran said Monday that nothing will change between the nation and the United States under President-elect Joe Biden unless Biden's administration takes 3 steps to correct EU's wrong path.
There is time. They can still turn back from this wrong path. We will certainly look closely at the actions and words of the next U.S. administration. There are 3 important changes that must come to be before anything can happen. Change in the thought and mentality of the U.S. decision makers, change in words and speech and the type of speech with the world and Iran, and taking correct actions, turning back from the wrong path and making up for the past. We are closely observing. It's still very early to say what will happen in the future. First of all, we don't recognize any team. We recognize a government. First, a government must be formed in the U.S. and then take its own actions, and we observe it. The side that has not only violated the nuclear deal, but also punished others for not violating it and forced them to do so, is the U.S. And it's not only the Islamic Republic saying this. The closest allies of the U.S. stood against it in the Security Council. The most isolated U.S. after World War II was formed, and this will remain in the history of international relations, naturally, as they have to act on other treaties that the U.S. has withdrawn from. We must see a path of correction in all fields, and then judge based on those actions. This is the only path that Iran will closely observe.
And we'll go now to a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. Moscow confirmed Monday that a Russian Mi-24 helicopter was shot down in Armenia near the border with Azerbaijan. The incident occurred in the evening as the aircraft was escorting a motorcade to a Russian military base. The Mi-24 helicopter was hit by a missile from a portable air defense system. The official representative of the Russian Ministry of Defense, Major General Igor Konashenkov, said the Russian helicopter was shot down in the airspace over the territory of the Republic of Armenia outside the combat zone with Azerbaijan. 2 of the helicopter's flight crew members were killed and 1 was was evacuated with moderate injuries. The Azerbaijani Foreign Ministry announced to have downed the Russian helicopter by mistake and said that Baku was ready to compensate Moscow for the downed helicopter, expressing condolences over the death of the crew members. Baku explained that the flight of the Russian helicopter took place in irregular circumstances, and given the tense situation in the region, the combat team on duty made the decision to open fire. On Monday, Syria's President Bashar al-Assad told his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin ahead of a Moscow-backed conference of repatriation that the return of refugees is a priority for his government.
For us, as a government, it is the #1 priority in the coming stage, especially after a big chunk of territory was liberated and battles subsided, despite ongoing acts of terrorism. The biggest problem is the Western siege imposed on Syria, on the state and its people. Therefore, their return requires the provision of their basic and necessary needs, such as water, electricity, and schooling, as well as other basic services, in addition to the need to revive the economic cycle. The Syrian government is not just ready, but also eager for the results of the conference so that we can see the largest number of refugees return in the coming few months.
With 68 new cases recorded in the last few hours, the number of COVID-19 infections in Syria has reached 6,215, according to data from the Ministry of Health. Of that figure, about 2,357 patients were recovered from the disease. 4 people died in the last 24 hours, and the death toll rose to 317 since the pandemic was detected in this country on March 22nd. Syria maintains borders closed and is constantly guiding the people on issues such as awareness on the pandemic and knowledge of the rules that must be adopted in terms of symptoms. Estimates by the International Labour Organization show that about 245 million full-time jobs will be lost in the last trimester of this year due to the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. According to estimates, the number accounts for an 8.6% loss of working hours worldwide in the last quarter of 2020, aside to the same period last year. One of the reasons of this revision is that workers in developing and emerging economies, particularly in the informal sector, have been more affected than in previous crises, the international body noted. According to the UN agency statistic, 94% of workers live in countries that are still implementing some kind of restrictions and confinement due to the spread of COVID-19 contagions, thus affecting workplaces, and 32% of nations where all jobs, except those that are essential, have been closed. The Ivory Coast Constitutional Council formally validates President Alassane Ouattara's re-election for a third term in office.
Considering that Mr. Alassane Ouattara received 3,031,483 votes, thus achieving a score of 94.27% above the absolute majority required, it is therefore appropriate to proclaim him elected in the first round of President of the Republic of Ivory Coast, following the ballot of Saturday, October 31st, 2020.
India's Environmental Court on Monday ordered a ban on firecrackers during the country's biggest annual festival in cities battling hazardously poor air quality, citing a link between pollution and coronavirus surge. The National Green Tribunal said the role of pollution in the COVID-19 crisis meant that the ban was needed ahead of Diwali celebrations on Saturday. Traditionally, millions of firecrackers are set to during Diwali, the Hindu festival of light, but the practice has been blamed for worsening air pollution. India has the second highest number of coronavirus infections in the world, and experts have raised concerns about air pollution worsening the symptoms of every respiratory illnesses such as COVID-19.
17 and 18, when we had conventional firecrackers and there's no health hazard, today we have new generation firecrackers which have been termed as green crackers with 35% less emission. why should there be any apprehension with anybody that can be a health hazard?
Again, this time, this is neck of the time, the Rajasthan government and Odisha government, they are banning crackers also. They are completely avoiding crackers. So next year, the situation will be like, no, means it is no one can start a fireworks business actually. Reason is that these traders know, they won't be investing in fireworks.
Actually, before Corona, we have more sales actually. But now 30% of our manufacturing and 30% of our selling has been reduced actually. This is the impact of Corona towards our business.
So in the year 2017 and 18,
a fire burst out in a chemical plant Monday morning in East China's Xinjiang province, and local firefighters have brought it under control. No casualties have been reported so far. The fire blazed in workshops and warehouses on Songtian East Fluorine Silicon Material Company in Kusup City. Big fire has resulted in the rise of air pollution index, which is twice to 8 times higher than usual, according to the local Environmental Protection Administration, but it needs further detection to tell whether there are toxic chemicals in the air, and residents living downwind have been evacuated. The cause of the fire is under investigation. And we have more news coming up after this final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. A 17-day firebreak lockdown has come to an end in Wales, despite some of the highest regional infection rates in the UK, and calls for an extension of restrictions. On Monday, Wales' 17-day lockdown came to an end, and a new set of national measures came into effect. The decision of not to extend the lockdown has come under considerable criticism because COVID rates in some parts of Wales are the highest in the country. The health portfolio representatives stress that people must respect social distancing as the new measures, which sees pubs, gyms, hairdressers and other non-essential business reopen, come into place. The loosening of restrictions also means people can travel around Wales, including moving from high-risk areas to low-risk areas. For its part, Switzerland deployed more than 2,500 military personnel to support testing operations and provide aid in the most affected areas by the pandemic, where hospitals are already overwhelmed. In the meantime, increasingly restrictive measures are sparking protests in Europe, especially in the labor sector. Portuguese Prime Minister Antonio Costa announced Monday a curfew across most of the country in an effort to curb surging coronavirus case numbers. According to local media, the curfew will begin every night from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. However, on weekends, the curfew will begin at 1 p.m. in several regions of the country, including Lisbon and Porto. According to the health authorities, the number of infections has increased in the last month from 2,000 to 6,000 per day. To date, Portugal has confirmed nearly 180,000 cases and 2,900 deaths.
The situation was serious on October 14th when we had 2,000 new cases per day. Today it is much more serious because we have 6,000 cases per day. The situation was very difficult during the first wave when we had a number of hospitalizations that, at the worst moment, reached 1,300 people. Today the situation is much more serious because we have 2,420 people hospitalized.
WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said Monday that the world must not close its eyes on the virus and hope it goes away.
We might be tired of COVID-19, but it's not tired of us. Yes, it preys on those in weaker health, but it preys on other weaknesses too. Inequality, division, denial, wishful thinking, and willful ignorance. We cannot negotiate with it, nor close our eyes and hope it goes away. This will not be the last global health crisis. When the next one arrives, will the headlines be the same? Will they say that after the COVID-19 pandemic, the world wrung its hands, wrote reports, and changed nothing? Or will they say that COVID-19 was a turning point for global health security and for global health? This is our opportunity to write that story now.
Tunisian President Kais Saied and UN Acting Envoy to Libya Stephanie Williams attend the opening ceremony of the Libyan Political Dialogue Forum, where rival Libyan factions are meeting for UN-led talks aimed at bringing a last peace to their war North African country and preparing for elections.
I'm convinced that the solution must only be Libyan, and we have been working for several months on a solution coming from the Libyan people. It is a historic moment that we are living today. It's a day with history, and no one wants to miss it.
You have gathered today to continue forging a new era of peace and stability for Libya. You have the opportunity to end the tragic conflict and create a future of dignity and hope.
And we have come to the end of this news brief, but remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. Also, if you feel so inclined, join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. For TeleSUR English, my name is Gladys Marlenis Quesada Cruz. Thank you for watching.